File this next story underneath the criminal injustice system, America's criminal injustice system. The son of a police officer gets no time for 44 pounds of weed. Now, to be sure, I want to state this up front, that I am very much pro legalization of marijuana, even recreational use. I firmly believe, and it's not even a statement of belief, it's just a fact that what we allow in terms of alcohol and the amount of damage and carnage and what, destruction of your body, and not to mention, lives that have been taken because of alcohol compared to marijuana. You can't compare the two. And as well as the number of people who are sitting in jail right now who are still getting prosecuted and still getting sentences, jail time, for both marijuana possession as well as marijuana sales. And last but not least, when they attempted to smear Botham Jean, the 27-year-old from Texas who was killed by the white woman police officer who claims that she thought he was in her apartment, but she was at the wrong apartment. You remember that story? When they tried to smear his name, what did they say? Oh, he had marijuana in his apartment, traces of marijuana in his apartment. There has been such a long history of marijuana being used to vilify people of color, specifically black people. And so many people, black people specifically, who are sitting in jail because of the war on drugs, that the full decriminalization and full legalization, even for recreational purposes, is only the right thing to do, and for the benefit of every community, but specifically the black community. That being the case, it's not legal yet. And there's still black people and Hispanic people and even probably some white people who are still getting some jail time over marijuana. But not if you're the son of a former police officer. Thomas Betts, who's 39 years old. First of all, my dude, you're old. What the hell are you doing at 39 years old? You're either a kingpin and there's something else going. 44 pounds of marijuana suggests that you have a really healthy organization going on, right? Or you're Breaking Bad and you're going to do it the AMC way, right? You're trying to break in. What are you doing breaking in to the weed game at 39 years old? His partner, Michael Dorley, 41 years old. There's something more to the story, but let's set that aside. Thomas Betts is the son of a former Miami Valley crime lab director, Ken Betts. And this is what the article from the My Dayton Daily News said. They said, quote, Special Prosecutor John Marshall has asked the judge to honor the presumption of prison, which the judge said was not necessary because of the defendant's lack of any serious criminal record and there were no victims. They went on to say, quote, our job as prosecutors is to make sure that defendants are held accountable for breaking the law, said Butler County Assistant Prosecutor John Marshall, who was named as a special prosecutor to avoid the appearance of conflict of interest. Well, considering that Betts and Dorley could have faced more than a decade in prison, about 11 years in prison, and they got off with 5 years probation at the discretion of the judge, I don't think that you really demonstrated that you got rid of the conflict of interest. I'm just saying the conflict of interest doesn't just go with the prosecuting attorney's office. It also rests inside of the judge, the judge's chambers. And so here we are, a guy who got caught with 44 pounds of weed. Do you know how much weed that is? I mean, seriously. Like, I know guys who've lost their entire families. Like, I'm laughing for not crying because I know guys who've lost their entire families for having a pipe with one pack. It was packed one time with weed. Like come on. Smaller than a nickel bag. People have been killed over one joint. They said they smelled weed on Philando Castile And so the judge, the police officer who killed him literally got off because the officer was scared for his life because he smelled marijuana. And here this guy, Thomas Betts, has 44 pounds of weed. I didn't even Google the street value of that. Someone Google that and put it in the comment section. Like, this guy is a drug dealer. He is a major drug dealer. And whereas I absolutely support us decriminalizing and legalizing the recreational use of marijuana, if you're still arresting black people over little small trace amounts of marijuana, and here the son of a police officer has gotten off for 44 pounds of weed, that demonstrates the problem in this country that has existed for years. I mean, forever. What's coming to mind right now, and I don't have the specifics, but it's coming back to my mind as we speak, was the campaign against marijuana in the early 1900s, where it insinuated that it made black people crazy, and it made white women fall in love with black people. And this kind of Jim Crow styled vilification of black people around marijuana use. And here we are today, having black people still be arrested, being killed by police officers, smeared because they had trace amounts of weed in their apartment that they were supposed to be in, both of them Jean, and a 39-year-old either drug lord or wannabe kingpin or wannabe Heisenberg gets off with probation for 44 pounds of weed. Now, they should take the weed and distribute it to everyone so we can all have a great afternoon. No problem with the weed. The problem is with the criminal justice system.